Today we're going to be talking about some open G boogie woogie blues in the style of one of the coolest men to ever grace the earth, John Lee Hooker. So the first thing we need to talk about is the tuning I'm using today. So this is a very common tuning in blues music. You'll hear Robert Johnson use it. Obviously we're talking about John Lee Hooker today. A bunch of different blues guys would have used this tuning over the years. Muddy Waters as well, right? What I like to do with it is keep the low E string as it is. We're not even going to worry about the low E string today at all. So we're going to just base this all from the A string down, right? So what I encourage you to do is use your ears with this, okay? So your A string is going to be coming down a full tone from A. It's going to be going down to G. And what I like to do is pluck the G string at the same time as the A. So then the D, G, and the B string, they stay exactly the same because that's a G major triad right there in the middle. And then the high E string is going to be coming down from E down to D. So just to be really clear, here are the notes I've tuned my guitar to. G, D, G, B, D. So for official open G tuning, your E string needs to come down a full tone as well to a D. However, like I said, we won't even be worrying about the E string at all today. If you look at Keith Richards, he even cuts it off his guitar and just uses 5 strings because with a lot of this bluesy stuff and these cool riffs and all that, you only really need the 5 strings because you're going to be rooting all your chords off the A string, which is now a G string. So once you're all tuned up, let's start talking about the groove we'll be working on for today's video. So this groove comes from the song Boogie Chillun by John Lee Hooker. It's known as the song that launched 1,000 riffs, or probably tens of thousands at this stage. It's got this hypnotic, infectious groove to it that's just so groundbreaking for the time when you think about it. This song, I believe, was originally recorded and released in 1948, which is a long time ago, right? And when you listen to this recording, I really do recommend you go and listen to this before we get started. Boogie Chillun, John Lee Hooker, 1948 recording, check it out. There's just something so haunting, cool, impossible to recreate about this recording that, I'll do my best to give you, again, just try to capture the spirit of this. I won't be showing it to you note for note. In fact, he even uses a capo for this. I believe he's got the capo on the 4th fret, somewhere like that. So he's in even a different key. But what we're going to be doing today is just doing it in the open position in the key of G, right? And I've prepared a backing track as well for today's lesson, which you can download if you check the description below. The original recording and a lot of John Lee Hooker's music, it's almost like hill country blues. It's got this hypnotic pulse to it. You don't know when he's going to change to the 4 chord. It's a little bit arrhythmic, I would say, if that makes sense. It's kind of like, it's all more about getting into this hypnotic groove, and I imagine being in his band was probably pretty stressful. You got to just watch him, and when he feels like it, he's going to change to the next chord. I'm going to break this groove into 5 levels, right? So level 1 is just going to be the bare bones essential part of this groove, right, which is just trying to capture the feel of it more than anything. And then as we move through the different levels, once we get to level 5, it'll be putting everything together and encapsulate the bass line, the riffs at the top strings, and kind of starting to improvise and making it your own, right? So if you're struggling at the first level, Don't worry about it at all. I encourage you to just really stay there, download the backing track, or even just put on a metronome and just try and get comfortable with this sense of groove, the sense of rhythm. Even if you're just keeping it really simple at the start, it doesn't matter. That's, for me, it's such a cool riff in its essence that, it's okay to just stick around at the kind of the basic version of it at the start. So level 1 of this groove is going to sound something like this. Okay, so as you probably noticed, I'm using my fingers, not using a pick, just to really get this authentic bluesy sound. You'll see the likes of John Lee Hooker, Lightning Hopkins, all these guys, they play, even kind of like this, the downstrokes with the thumb, upstrokes with like the index finger a lot of the time. So really cool technique to try out if you've never tried it before. I guess you could do this with a pick, but to really capture the authentic sound, try and do it with your fingers. So talk about how this works, right? So the downbeat, right? The 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's just say you're tapping your foot along to this. So you're going to be hitting what's now a G string, right? The A string. So you're skipping the low E string, like I said at the start. You're going to be hitting that on the 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right on the beat. You don't have to, you can do it 1, 2, 3, 4 as well. It doesn't specifically have to be always on the 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. Okay? So start with that. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. And try and keep a sense of rhythm with your hand as well in between the strums. Right? The next ingredient to this groove is this. What really makes it, I think, is this upstroke, this kind of offbeat, right? And the way that I try to explain this is when you're tapping your foot along, okay, so it's like, let's say this is your foot here. So the downbeat, right, which we're doing already is like right as your foot hits the ground. Like that. These upstrokes, these kind of accent notes, are basically in between, and if you visualize like when your foot comes up, that's when you're doing them. So it's like so your, for me, index finger is coming up like that with your foot, right? And it's, you're muting it as well at the top. So you can mute it with your right hand. You can also mute it with your left hand. So putting those two elements together now, right? So 1. And I'm just strumming the D string and the G string, okay? If you strum the B string as well, it starts to sound too major, right? That's the major third there. We don't want that. We want just this kind of power chord sound. And 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And those, again, those upstrokes are kind of in between the beats, and there is a little bit of a swing kind of sense to them, right? Again, go back, listen to John Lee Hooker's version to really get in the mindset of what he's doing with this groove. And for the low E string, a lot of the time I just use my thumb like that, just resting against the side of the string, not even consciously, just the way I hold the guitar. And that's going to mute it, basically, right? That's the idea. We don't want to hit it at all, and if you can mute it, even better. And like, what I do as well sometimes is just same as my thumb, just like lightly holding the B and the high E string, not fretting anything, but just muting them, like to do this part of the groove cleanly, and not have to worry about the low E string or the other strings. You can just think about doing it like that, maybe. so now let's move on to level 2. So level 2 is going to be this chromatic walking bass line thing that he's doing. Right, so this comes in right at the end of the phrase, right? And what's interesting about this part is if you listen to some of the different versions of this song, he seems to do it kind of all over the fretboard with no real rhyme or reason to it. And that's what's cool about it as well. You can get away with doing it almost anywhere, really, if you are convincing enough about it, right? So let me just show you what I mean. Starting on the 4th fret, 5th, 6th, up to the 12th. He seems to walk around with it like that, but I think the main bulk of it seems to be between the 3rd and the 5th fret. Again, the muting is quite important here. Something I've noticed myself just doing there naturally is the thumb again and just muting those 2 strings with that finger. And then when in between, these 2 fingers seem to be coming down like that just to do a bit of muting there. Add the bass line. Starting to sound like the Doors now. And I'm using my thumb, as you can see, to hit that bass line. Let's talk about level 3. What's nice about open G is you can do these one finger really cool bluesy riffs. So if you use the B string and the high E string just to start on the 3rd fret, and if you slide them in from the 2nd fret, okay, so that's going to be part of the groove now. So we're going to plug that into what we've been doing. So we're going see how that works there? So it's kind of like with our upstrokes, we're adding this as well as playing these open strings. So there is an answer part to this as well. So let's say you do this riff 3 times like this. 2, 3, and then on the 4th time we're gonna go, so that's hitting a G note there on top on the low E string, right, on the 5th fret. We're still holding the B string on the 3rd fret, but we're adding that on. So right, so 3 times like this, 2, 3, 4 time. Right? So he does that in the original recording right before he comes in with the vocal, with the singing, right? Let me do that one more time. So 2, 3, 4. So that's kind of the end of the riff, if that makes sense. That's like the end of the phrase, hitting that note at the top. So now you've got basically the whole groove, right? So when you put this all together, so we've done 3 levels. So let me just put this all together for you one more time. So starting off with level 1. Adding in the bass line for level 2. Level 3 with the high strings. starting to sound really cool. So now let's talk about level 4. So level 4 really is just putting everything together, right? So another thing that I need to mention as well is when you want to do any other chord, let's say the 4 chord or the 5 chord, just talking strictly about blues for the moment, right? You can just do these 1-finger bar chords. That's what's cool about open tuning. So in the backing track, which is available below, it goes to the 4 chord. It also goes to the 5 chord. You can even hear me shout in the background of the backing track when that's going to happen. To go to the 4 chord, which in this case is C, simply do that, right? So that's 1 finger across the 5th fret from the A string down. And if you want to do some bluesy riffs around this, basically, there's your boogie woogie riff, right? That's just the D string being added on there in the 7th fret. You can also do the same thing on the high E string because it's essentially a D string as well now, right? You can go. So if you keep the same feel but just change the chord, if we want to hit the 5 chord, we just move this up 2 frets to the 7th fret. Now we've got the 5 chord, which is D. We can just do the same idea. 4 chord. You got a minor 3rd there on the 3rd fret on the A string, which you can get some nice sounds out of. So level 5 is going to be putting everything together and also hitting this amazing John Lee Hooker guitar break. So let me play it for you, right? It's in the backing track as well. So it goes like this. Very greasy sounding, I always think, right? Going back to these 1-finger bluesy sounding riffs, right? We can move these up. So you can move that shape up 2 frets and you have essentially the start of the guitar break. So it goes strumming all the rest of the strings as well, except for the low E string. So that's the start of the break, right? Then it hits this really cool little riff here, right? So same shape, right? Just the B string and the high E string, doing a double stop with those, right? And we're just going between the 8th fret and the 5th fret. But the trick is to do it with keeping the rhythm going on the low strings as well. And the rhythm of it is kind of syncopated, basically, is what you'd say, right? So it's going kind of against the beat. The first one we're hitting on the beat, and then we're going off the beat. So it's all feels a little bit kind of like topsy-turvy or whatever, but that's what gives it this really cool sound. 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4. And the more staccato-y you can do it, the better. By staccato, I mean just like killing the note as quick as you can, as soon as you play it, basically. And how you do it, you just lift your finger gently. Not big jumps, just stop pressing it down, basically, to mute the strings. So when you pair this with it's a little bit like, you know, a lot of this blues stuff, patting your head and rubbing your belly at the same time. But if you can practice this, you know, even if you do it without the riff for now. So just to get the rhythm of it, right? So that would be like hitting all the downbeats with your thumb. 3, 4, 3, 4, and then we're hitting the upbeats, the offbeats with our, trying to hit this kind of rhythm of this riff with our index finger. Do 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 do. If you've never done anything like that before, sit with it for a while. It will really stand to you gaining a level of independence between your thumb and your fingers if you want to really dig into this bluesy kind of finger style solo blues playing. The final stage of this, so we've done 5 levels, right? The last level was hitting that guitar break on top of everything else. So the kind of bonus level now is we're going to put this all together with the backing track. We're going to have a jam together. So take this video in stages. If you're still struggling with anything past level 1, just stay there for, you know, take a couple of days, practice it, come back to the video and just slowly build your way up. If you're happy with everything, you got the guitar break kind of figured out, let's have a final jam together and then we'll leave it there, and hopefully you'll have gained some understanding of how to think like John Lee Hooker. 1, 2, 3